Story is important because it's not an isolated incident, and it also points to history. It is a disturbing trend, and it goes with what we talked about with Rabbi Lapin last week, the worship of Baal. But let's go to the recent history, the radicals poisoning the water. Here's the Occupy protesters encouraging gays, queer kids, why kill yourself when you can kill your parents? Killing parents. In 1970, Bill Ayers summed up the Weatherman philosophy like this, quote, kill all the rich people, break their cars and apartments, bring the revolutionary home, kill your parents. That's where it's really at. Let's go from killing parents. Let's just go down a rung on the ladder, or maybe several rungs on the ladder, but it's still on the ladder. Down, way down from kill your parents is advising youth to ignore their parents because you're smarter than they are. Watch.
Parents try to tell their kids the right thing, you know. And when our parents' generation couldn't answer that question, that's when the laws started to change. There are some things about our world that you know that older people don't know.
It is incredible to me. It is truly incredible to me that we can have a former vice president of the United States give this kind of advice. If you send your kids to public school, you know all too well that you're being undermined at home. They're undermining everything. First of all, they don't teach any history. They butcher it. They make it boring. They make it about dates. And our kids end up like these idiots. Watch.
Do you know the Vice President of the United States? Definitely not.
George Bush.
George Bush is the Vice President?
The bald guy. He was going to run for it, and he has Clinton, right? Bill
Clinton, the Vice President, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Bill Clinton.
Yes, you did. Correcto. In what war did the U.S. gain its independence?
I don't know.
The British War, the Civil War.
That one. That one. That one. That one.
The Civil War. Civil War.
I don't know. Shoot, I just did this, so I don't remember.
I was never taught that knowledge.
Wow. Wow, the dating gene pool for our sons and daughters is getting very, very shallow. Beyond that, some schools, like a couple of years ago in Maine, are offering now prescription birth control to middle schoolers as young as 11. This was the solution after the school nurse discovered 5 students who were sexually active. Oh, and the parents were in the dark about the birth control. Confidentiality rules. We'll just keep this between you and me. No need to tell mom and dad. They had condoms and patches and Plan B morning after pills, all made available to help students that didn't have access to reproductive health care or parents that just didn't understand. And then there's the president, who ran an ad campaign encouraging kids to argue with their stubborn old parents and convince them to vote for Obama. Remember this?
My dad's a character. He is stubborn and stuck in his ways.
My stepmother was a lifelong Republican.
My dad voted for President Bush twice.
My grandmother has spent so long saying, oh, Barack Obama.
My parents are very stubborn. I imagine most of your parents are stubborn as well. So be patient.
You're doing something good for the country, and maybe they'll see what you're doing and want to follow.
Isn't that great? The kids can teach us something. All of this undermines the parents and teaches the child that mom and dad do not know best. We know what's best for your health. Don't listen to your parents. They aren't up on the issues. They're old, they're stubborn, they're dusty, they're almost like the Constitution. It also justifies throwing condoms at school kids, Catholic school kids, because, faith, those people are ridiculous. It's what Nancy Pelosi thinks is brave, undermining our parental guidance, our churches, and making government into God. Do your neighbors not see that they're under attack yet? Just wait till their kids start jetting off to Occupy rallies. Or heaven forbid, they start watching Obama 2012 campaign ads aimed directly at kids. I believe it was Jesus that, turned father against son, but that's what's happening now, and they ain't Jesus. They're turning families against each other. They're turning children against the parents. It's amazing. I mean, we could have a funeral to mom and dad knows best, because that's over. That's over. Murdered by the progressive and leftist movement. Tonight, we're talking about things that are not isolated incidents. These are orchestrated, and they are stirring up chaos at every possible angle. Rich versus poor, left versus right, old versus young. Step aside, Grandma, I want my health insurance. Kids versus parents, religious versus secular. And this is only the beginning of what is coming, the birth pangs. Evil will compound. It will multiply, and it will grow more bold. I mean, look at where we have come in just the last few months. When Occupy Wall Street starts up again this spring, it will make last fall look like a picnic, and when summer happens, it will make spring look like a picnic. I can tell you that because history tells us this. But here's the good news. I am convinced that evil is hitting us all so hard right now because darkness can't understand the light. It can't see what's coming, but I think it can sense something. Something is coming. And people are waking up, but they're not waking up in political ways. I believe they're beginning to wake up in spiritual ways. And it's almost like things are, evil is flailing right now. It just needs to stop people. And so it will use every trick in the book. It only needs to kill off that 10% that can change the world. If it loses the 10% of this population, and this population, 10% of it is awake, active, and understands and believes something to the core, it loses. And it knows that. Be a part of that 10%. History when we come back.